You're watching Gearz.
You know, there's just something about an old truck that everybody loves. The problem is most of them have lived a pretty hard life, especially a 4x4. So if you're looking to get into an old project truck, something like this is usually what you're going to find. Now, believe it or not, this truck started out life in 1973 as a 3/4 ton long bed 4x4 pickup. And then somebody destroyed the bed over the years with use. They put a flatbed on it, and that's where we are today. Now, as cool as the flatbed is, we want to return this thing to a 3/4 ton pickup. And in the past, when you wanted to do something like that, you had two choices. You could either try to find an original bed and put it on here, or you had to try to make a late model bed work. Neither one of those is the best choice. Fortunately now, there is a third option. Check it out. For years, LMC Truck has had bed sides, tailgates, head gates, all kinds of hardware to help you restore the bed of your Ford. There's been one piece missing though, this guy here, the bed floor. Now, as you can see, that's not a problem anymore because this is a reproduction floor of the long bed Ford. Now take a look at this, man. The stamping is how it should be. The bolt holes are where they're supposed to be. It's got the right bracing. This is a nice piece. This will allow you to completely replace the rusty floor of your bed. Now, if your bed is gone like ours is, it will allow you to completely reconstruct a bed, just like those Chevy guys can. So, this is how to do it. First step is to lay out all the parts that you're gonna need. And LMC's got all the hardware for the tailgate. They've got tail lights, they've got markers, they've got bed supports, they have bumper brackets, they have the hardware to bolt the bed in. They've even got a kit to mount an extra capacity 38-gallon fuel tank between the frame rails underneath the bed, which gets the fuel tank out from behind the driver, which is always a good thing. Now, once you have everything laid out, now it's time to get the old bed out of the way. Come on. There. All right, as you can see, there have been some modifications done to this frame, which is typical for an old truck. The problem is all of this stuff needs to come off because that new bed is not going to lay down on this frame with this angle iron sticking up. Now, since it's welded on, the best tool to use to get rid of this is a plasma cutter. Okay, now we are ready to start putting that new bed together. But first, let's talk about replacement body panels.
Now, Quick Tip. Brought to you by E3 Spark Plugs. Born to burn.
When you're dealing with aftermarket or even OEM replacement panels, don't be surprised to find that there might be a little dent or a crooked flange on the panel somewhere. Now, that doesn't mean the panel is bad and needs to be replaced. You should only do that if there's a severe dent or damage or a hole in it. Now, if you've got little damage like a crooked flange like this, or even a corner that's bent up, unfortunately, that's just part of our modern shipping process. So the tip here is to make sure you spend a little bit of time with a hammer and dolly, hammering out dents, or with a flanging tool, working flanges down, or with a file, opening up holes to where everything fits the way it should. That's why everybody should have some basic body working tools in their toolbox. It's all part of building a car. If you'd like to learn more tips to make your life easier in the shop, check out the tips page on the website. Okay, with the bed floor laid out, the first thing we're going to do is bolt on this front panel. Watch the exhaust pipe. Whoa, whoa! Then we'll move the assembly to the truck. Now, this will not only allow us easy access to the bed bolts, but it'll also allow us to square up the floor with the cab so we don't end up with a bed that's crooked or cockeyed when we're done. Now comes the big boys, the bed sides. And as you can see, LMC makes these just like the originals with the inner and outer panels all together as one assembly, which is very cool and very awkward to maneuver around. So obviously you're going to need an extra set of hands to bolt it on and square it all up. As I mentioned before, don't be surprised if you have to open up a hole or bend a flange a bit to get everything to fit. Next, we'll install all the lights and hardware onto the bed. And then assemble the tailgate. The final step is to put on the tailgate and adjust all the hardware. And as before, you'll need to spend a little bit of time squaring everything up so it fits right. And that's it. All we need now is a little bit of prep work, and that thing will be ready for paint. And now that it's all assembled and trued up, it'll just take a few minutes to lift the whole thing off as an assembly and put that fuel tank in, just like a stock bed. But the best part is in just a few hours, we have gone from a clapped out farm truck that nobody wanted to a vintage 4x4 that anybody would like to have. And that is recycling at its best. There is no doubt that the Jeep is one of the most modification-friendly vehicles on the planet. From lift kits to wheels, tires, winches, bumpers, off-road lights, a top. I mean, the Jeep aftermarket is huge, and you've seen us do all that stuff and a lot more over the years. But we also get a lot of emails from people that are first-time Jeep owners or that have a stock Jeep, and they want to know what some good modifications are to get them into the Jeep world. So we're going to show you a couple things, and the first one has to do with performance. Now, most people realize that Jeep V6 is a little weak and could use some help in the horsepower department. And nothing does that quicker, simpler, or cheaper than a tuner like this one from Diablo Sport. This is how it goes in. All you have to do is plug it into your OBD2 port and punch a few buttons, and you'll be able to fine-tune the engine and pick up some extra horsepower and fuel economy. If you've got any kind of a late model computer-controlled vehicle, a programmer should be one of the first upgrades you invest in. The second modification that every Jeep vehicle should have is for auxiliary wiring, because electrical accessories are a fact of life on a 4x4. But the more you add, the more cluttery and messy it can get. So pretty soon you've got relays and wiring and switches going all over the place, and it's kind of hard to keep it all organized. That's why Painless Performance came out with the Trail Rocker. Check it out. The kit comes with a pre-wired relay center that puts all of your relays and all of your fuses in a central location on a bracket that mounts right by the battery. Then, as you can see, it's got a full wiring harness, so you don't have to guess where all this goes. Then they did the switches the same way. As you can see, there's 5 pre-wired switches ready to just snap in place in your Jeep. Then, of course, you've got all the hardware to hook everything up. This is a great way to supply power to all those electrical accessories that you know you want to put on your Jeep. This is how it goes in. The first step is to unclip the wiring harness attached to the top of the battery tray and move it out of the way. Next, we'll mount the Trail Rocker relay center to the battery tray using the supplied hardware. Then we'll run the wiring harness across the firewall with the factory harness for a nice clean look. And then into the interior through the factory opening on the driver's side beside the master cylinder. All right, that takes care of under the hood. Now we're going to move into the interior to mount our switches. And Painless has already found the perfect place on a JK, and that's this panel right here. So we're going to pop that out, pop in the new panel of switches. Then, over on the driver's side, we'll make our connections to the ignition switch and the harness that connects to the relays under the hood. And that is it. It's all ready to go. So now when you want to add accessories like off-road lights or horns or whatever, all you do is connect the hot wire for the accessory to one of the color-coded wires on the wiring harness, and then that accessory will be controlled by one of the switches on the dash, It will pull its power through the relays directly from the battery. It'll go through the proper fuses. Everything will be laid out, easy to work on, easy to service, making this one of the best things that you can put on a vehicle if you're going to add electronic accessories.
All across America, in thousands of garages, carports, and backyards, there sits a project that has become hindered, stalled, or halted by the lack of time, money, or expertise by the owner. Sometimes the project is so lopsided that the owner just needs to sell it and start over. Other times, all it needs is a kickstart to get it moving in the right direction again. That's where we come in. Gearz on the Road is brought to you by Catskin. Tailor-made, custom-fit, trusted choice.
If you watch Gearz very much, you know we like to encourage people to get out there and work on their own project. And every once in a while, we get the chance to help somebody out a little bit. Now, usually we just jump in the Gearz truck and make a house call, but sometimes that's just not possible. So we do the next best thing. We bring them here. Now, today's segment features Greg and Carrie Nickel, a gearhead couple that both enjoy different aspects of the hot rod lifestyle.
Chevrolet is probably my preference. I've been a big fan of Chrysler over the years, especially the Hemi stuff.
But no Fords, huh?
Mustangs are all right, some of them.
That was his thing, going to the car shows and, building the cars and all that. So it was his thing, it became my thing, and, now it's something we do together.
I prefer the Challenger over the Camaro, or actually the Mustang.
Everybody loved the Camaro, everybody loved the Mustang, and I like the things that aren't as popular.
Today's subject is Carrie's Challenger, which is really cool and something that Carrie enjoys driving every day. There's only one problem. The interior is just black cloth, and it's just too hot and too boring for Carrie's taste. So we're going to help him change that. All right, you guys are familiar with how the on-the-road segments work, correct? Basically, we supply tools, we supply hardware, we supply parts, and help you put it in, but we don't do it for you because we want to encourage gearheads to do their own work. So you guys cool with that?
Awesome.
The first step was to get one of the seats out of the car, and we're starting with the driver's seat because it's usually the most difficult to do. It's all yours. The next step was to remove the stock upholstery from the seat bottom, and both Greg and Carrie seem to really like tearing things apart. With the old material out of the way, we set the new upholstery in place and started attaching it. I think it's hard to see, doesn't it? And once again, both Greg and Carrie took to that with no problem at all. And in just a few minutes, we had the seat bottom done. Then it was on to the seat back. And while Carrie and I focused on recovering that, Greg lost the toss and ended up having to do the headrest. What you do is you push the foam in. Just mash it down. Mash the foam in. Look at that.
Okay, I'm done.
No, you're
done
not.
for the, you know something that
Oh,
looks
we're
really
just
good?
getting started.
Except for that.
You're fired.
You probably won't see it. I mean, it's on the bottom side, but still.
He's fired.
And when the smoke finally cleared, we had a completely different looking seat, all done in high quality leather. And it gives the car a totally different feel on the inside. It's much more bright and much more exciting than the solid black cloth that came from the factory. But as promised, our job here is done. Now it's up to Greg and Carrie to finish the rest. But that's no problem, because now they not only have the upholstery, they know how to put it in.
And now, Parts Bin.
One of the most popular cars ever built has got to be the Camaro. And while the first generation cars are iconic, the second generation cars from 1970 to 1981 are the ones that made the Camaro the legend that it is today, and the main reason why thousands of people would like to restore or hot rod one today. Now, if this is you, Total Cost Involved has got the best way to bring your old 70s Camaro up to date with a complete front subframe and front suspension for that second gen Camaro. Now check this out. As you can see, the whole front subframe is tubular steel. It's TIG welded. It's got all the mounting points where they need to be. Everything is gusseted properly. This is incredibly strong. Bolts right in place of the stock piece. Then for the front suspension, you've got tubular upper and lower control arms, adjustable coilover shocks. You got front disc brakes to bring everything to a stop. Then, of course, for handling, you have a heavy-duty sway bar. And then for steering, you've got a power rack and pinion unit. Now, back here in the back, as you can see, they even put in an adjustable transmission mount, so you can virtually mount any transmission you can think of back here. It even has indentations for exhaust system. Yeah, they pretty much thought of everything on this. So, if you've got yourself a classic Camaro and you want it to handle like a modern Camaro, but have that cool look, you need to go to Total Cost Involved and get rolling. It is an automotive fact of life that you are eventually going to have to deal with a dead battery and jumpstart something, just like we had to do with this truck. The problem is you don't usually have a secondary vehicle or the jumper cables to do it. Well, Cornwell Tools has got a solution for that in what they call the mini jump box. Now, believe it or not, this little box packs 300 amps of cranking power to slap your battery back into existence in your car, truck, motorcycle, snowmobile, ATV, whatever you got. Now, on top of that, it also has plug-ins to power your computer, your cell phone, all of your electronic equipment. You have chargers for the house, chargers for the car, and you've got adapters to plug into, well, pretty much anything. The best part is it all fits into one nice little pouch that you can throw in the back of your car. Now, usually we tell people they need to carry some basic tools in their car, like jumper cables. Now you can toss the jumper cables and just carry the mini jump pack. It's actually that good. You know, some people say that the eyes are the windows of the soul, and if that's true, well, your headlights on your car are pretty important because that's the eyes that give your car its personality. And unfortunately, headlights have not changed a lot over the years. Matter of fact, that is pretty much what hot rodders have been pulling out of junkyards and using on cars for decades. But now there's something different. Check this out. These are halo headlights from Redline Lumtronics, and the first thing that grabs you is they use a metal housing and real glass. This isn't the cheap plastic ones. Also, they use a high-performance halogen bulb, so you're going to really be able to see when you need to. Now, if you'll notice, there's a trim ring on the inside, and you can get it in different colors so you can match it to your vehicle, and in that trim ring is a bunch of LED lights. So all you do is hit the remote, and it will actually cycle through 16 different colors. And you can either let it cycle, or you can just hit the color that you want. So you can accent the paint or the trim on the vehicle. The best part is these are available in 5 3/4 inch round lights and 7-inch round lights, making them perfect for most hot rods or muscle cars. If you want to add some fire to the face of your hot rod or muscle car, you got to put some halo lights in it. And Redline Lumtronics is the only place you're going to get this.
And now, what are you working on? Brought to you by Napa. Engineered to make a living, designed to make a statement. Perfect Additions Napa.
Today's What Are You Working On comes from Rob Mai, and his project is a 74 Camaro that he said he picked up in 2012, and it was a little rough around the edges, but pretty solid. Take a look at this. Now, Rob thought this would just be a really nice, fun car to do, but unfortunately, he lost his sister just about 2 weeks after he got it. And this car all of a sudden became very good therapy as he dealt with his grief. And those old cars are good for that. Now, the first thing he did is put in a new engine, take a look at this, as well as some new seats, and then the problems hit. Now, according to what Rob says here, instead of tackling the paint and bodywork himself, he worked out a deal with a guy with a restoration shop, only to find the guy was a shyster and there was no shop, and so Rob now had no Camaro. He finally found it abandoned at another shop, but now the car looked like this. Oh man! But all the parts were there, and Rob found a legitimate paint and body place, and now the car looks like this and is very close to being finished. Oh man, that is quite a journey. And yet another reminder to be on the lookout for those scammer guys that's always trying to rip people off. But the good news is, Rob, you got your car back, you got your parts, and it's almost finished. So we want to recognize that. So we hooked up with our buddies at Napa Auto Parts. We're going to set you up with a toolbox either for your truck or your shop. All you got to do is tell them what size you need, and they'll ship it to you. Also, we're going to hook you up with one of our project planning books. This will help you lay out a budget and timeline and everything for that project, and then keep a record of what you've done to it when it's done. And we're definitely going to give you a Gearz t-shirt. Now, for the rest of you guys, if you want to get your project featured on the show, you got to go to the Gearz website, go to Gearz Nation, and submit your project. You got to show us what you got. We pull all of our What Are You Working Ons and all of our On the Road segments right off of Gearz Nation. Also, don't forget to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that social media, because we always have something cool going on there too. All right, the time has come for you to get out there and turn some wrenches. So get moving. We'll see you next time.